Good morning. Today we're going to draw a polar bear on an iceberg for our second video. My fourth graders, we have been drawing somewhat realistic polar bears during class, and you can create your own background in there, let's say like an aurora borealis or a sunset if you would like. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start towards the middle of our paper. I'm going to start with a Sharpie. Actually, you may want to start with a pencil just in case you have to erase. And what you're going to want to do, we're going to start with an upside down letter U shape. And by the way, this video is going out to my friend Kelly Dudley, who is an art teacher in the Pungo area of Virginia Beach. So these are the Pungo polar bears. And this is dedicated to the Pungo community. And if you go down to the bottom, so we have an upside down U and sort of a larger right upside down, not upside down U, I should say. Sorry about that. So right there, it kind of looks like a pear. You're starting with sort of a pear shape. And we're going to get a nose on there. So for the nose is going to go into the bottom half of that pear shape, okay? So we're starting actually with the polar bear snout. And what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to come in kind of almost like a letter V or letter U. You can shade it as you go along. As you notice, I'm kind of using a pencil right now. If we come in, a little bit of shading. You can leave a little highlight on that nose if you would like. Entirely up to you. It looks like my nose might be a little crooked, so I can fix that. We're going to do the mouth. Come down for the mouth. 1, 2. And I'm alternating right now, of course, with my pencil and my marker. He's going to need some eyes. Now, you don't want to make the eyes too large. If you want to make, again, that little shiny mark in them, you just kind of close up like that. We're not doing a cartoony polar bear. Occasionally in art, of course, we will do things that are more unrealistic, but we're keeping this a little bit more on the realistic side, kind of in between there. It looks like one of my eyes may be a slight bit larger, so I can adjust. Okay. All right, so right now we've got the face. We're gonna come in, just do kind of a fuzzy line for the top of the head. That is sort of a sideways C or an upside down U shape. And again, if you need to pause the video to catch up, you may. And again, what we're doing right now is we are working on this part right here. You can kind of fuzz the line if you want to around the mouth area to make it look somewhat more furry or realistic. And we're going to do the ears now. So your ears are going to be upside down letter C's as well. We do a lot of letters that we break things down into just because it kind of simplifies the shape. Ears are not too large. And then in that intersection here, if you have a Sharpie with you, you can practice drawing with a Sharpie. You could draw with pencil. I am doing a little bit of both so that you can see what I'm actually drawing. It makes it a little easier for you to be able to view it. Polar bears do not have particularly large ears, to the best of my knowledge. All right. So right now we've got that top of the head. We're not going to bring the head down and around right now. What we're going to work on is we're going to work on our polar bear's back now. So we're going to bring this back line down here. Just sort of a little haunch or a little hump here. I'm going to bring it down. And then we're going to kind of bring our back around. A little bit more of a hump here. You don't want to make him look too much like say, a camel or something. Now, polar bears are, I believe, if I am correct, polar bears are the largest bear, second only, I believe, to the grizzly or the Kodiak. I may be wrong in my facts, so you might want to double check that. But you want to kind of you don't want it to be too tiny unless you are making a baby. If you're making a baby, that's fine. So we've got our line that we come down. And then we're going to bring it down into a little bit of a bobbed tail. So you're going to kind of come around in a letter U shape right here. I will go over this so you can see it a little better, what I have drawn so far. Getting our polar bear of Pungo here. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna go back over to the right side of our polar bear here, and we're going to kind of come down. We're gonna make a line that comes down kind of for his chest. We're gonna go kind of diagonally. So we don't wanna do that too much, but we wanna kind of come across like this. All right, so this is where we're gonna start doing like his legs and his belly and his hind legs. So we have sort of somewhat of a diagonal line. I'm gonna keep a little bit of that fuzz on him. Polar bears have extremely thick fur. An interesting fact about polar bears is their fur is not actually white. Their fur is actually translucent. They actually have black skin that helps because they're in such an Arctic and cold climate. The translucent fur is on top of the black skin, and the black skin absorbs the rays of the sun or whatever sun they can get. So right now we've got that diagonal line kind of coming down. All right, it feels rather Arctic here today, actually, outside because we've had a snowfall. So we're gonna work on our front leg right now, actually. We're gonna come back to the front. I just did a little line in the back. You can go ahead and come down and do that. And actually, you know what? I think what I'm gonna do right now is before I do my back leg, I'm gonna bring he's gonna look a little bit like a hot dog at first. We're gonna bring our body around, and here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come from the back. We got this little diagonal line that we started where we're gonna do our leg, and we're gonna kind of come in and do this. You don't wanna make him too skinny. It's okay if he looks a little chubby because, like I said, polar bears, you might wanna do this lightly with a pencil because we're actually gonna end up erasing some of this when we do the legs and all, if you are working with a pencil. So we've got this little, almost like a corn dog nugget body we've got going on here. We're gonna work on the front leg from there. So I'll give you a chance to, if you need a chance to catch up, take a minute to catch up there. We've got his back side underneath the tail here. Now, when we do the front leg, we're gonna come down from right about, coming down from, if you kind of follow, don't make a line on your paper, but follow from underneath or that side of that snout, and you make a line, it kind of comes out, sort of a vertical line, all right? And then make a little bit of fur on there. You do want to make the leg too long, and you don't want to make it look too thin because polar bears, again, are very large land animals, one of the largest predators, obviously. Make that little bit of your back leg coming on here. And then bring that on around. We're still sketching down. And as I go along, I can kind of come in when I'm sure of myself. And kind of come in with so what I'm working on right now is my front leg. And they've got very large feet. And why do you think they might have large feet? Yeah, probably so because they are on the ice. They actually have their foot span. I was showing my students a video the other day. The foot span is actually about an actual foot wide, if not larger than that occasionally on some of the largest polar bears. So that's an extremely large predator with an extremely large foot, but they're walking around on that slippery ice and on those icebergs. So they need very large feet to get around. So now we have a front leg. That's what we're looking at right now. We're gonna move on to our other front leg, which is gonna we're gonna come up onto the polar bear's torso or his body. And we're gonna make a little line that is beside our leg right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down slightly diagonally, but not quite as much. And we're gonna make a little bit of hair once again. Gonna come up onto the body again, kind of making sure that we're keeping somewhat parallel with our back part of our front leg. And then you're swooping down. You wanna make sure that an easy thing to do to make sure your feet are in sync is if you make a little line for the bottom of the foot right here. And again, feel free to slow down the video at any time if you need to. And we're gonna come down in the front, make a little hump right there, and then bring the back kind of like this. All right, I hope you can see what I'm drawing so far. If you need me to go over it a little bit so you can see a little better. All right. So now we have two front legs. Now the back legs are a little different because we're gonna have to put the hip on there, and we're gonna have our other back leg kind of just resting beside that one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come up onto the back here, And we're going to make a bit of a hip. All right, so you're gonna make a backward C shape. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm gonna come in and make a backward C. You don't wanna make it too dramatic or too curved, and then what we're gonna do, kind of come down from here. And we wanna make sure, again, that our feet are kind of in keeping with each other in their position here. So we don't wanna have one really long looking leg. So we're gonna come around. Now they told you the back legs look a slight bit different. Come down in a straight line. You see that? And then again, kind of hump out. You can kind of measure sometimes with your pencil, or if you have a ruler or something, if you really want to get complicated and make the toes and all that, which I'm kind of doing as I go along, you can do that as well. And the back leg should be slightly easier. If I notice that anything is not large enough, that's one advantage of drawing with the pencil. You can kind of come back in and do some erasing and all that. And then we've got our back leg here, kind of come down like this underneath the belly. All right, it's okay if your polar bear looks a little chubby, because they have a large amount of blubber, about 4-inch layer of blubber, I believe. And again, you can look at my polar bear facts if I'm not in keeping with what is actually accurate, but they have a lot of blubber to keep them warm underneath that fur, and their skin is very thick and blubbery because they do submerge themselves in that Arctic water a lot. So they're very, very chubby looking because of all that blubber. All right, so now we have another polar bear. We have our polar bear drawn. If you would like to make, you can stop there if you would like. If you want to do a little bit of shading, what we usually do is I'd usually take my pencil, shade underneath the leg, shade a little bit on the belly. I can come in, if I want to make it look somewhat more realistic. I don't want to overshade because I don't want to make him look like he is a gray bear. I can do a little more shading in the ears if I would like. I can kind of look along and, make any hair or anything like that. Maybe a little more shading on the belly a little bit right here, especially on the back leg, because you've got a little bit of overlapping. Can bring some of the shading down on here. If I want to make an iceberg, I showed my students this in class the other day. You can make, polar bears do live on icebergs and ice caps and all. So if I want to make an iceberg, what I can do, I'm going to make one going the same direction I made my last one. I'm going to come down a little bit above the feet here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make this one a little different than my last one, but I kind of make this curvy line. What I tell the kids is I say it kind of looks like a chicken foot or a duck foot. That's what I tell my students, and I make a few. I'll keep this a little simpler. I just go out and I make a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle line. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to come back through and look at that. And I'm going to bring it back. I don't want to bring it through the bear's legs. Now, I'm not finished yet because I want to make this look somewhat three-dimensional. So what I'm going to do, if you need just to see where I'm doing this vertically, I'm going to make some vertical lines. A vertical line is straight up and down. You do not want to have them going across and going horizontally because that is not going to make it look 3D. I'm going to start from my very first top little toe here, and I'm going to do the next one and bring it down, and then the next one, bring it down. Now I have basically what looks like a large iceberg. If I wanted to make it shorter and make it look like it was floating, I can just follow what I've kind of done there, and I can erase these lines. I can make it kind of shorter, I can make it taller. So my icebergs are quite large, and I want to keep kind of that curve that I have here. Of course, I've got the icebergs are kind of floating on top of that cold and Arctic sea. So if I come up here, if I want to make, say, maybe another one, it's kind of a little more distant here. I'm just going to make I can make my lines right here. Got another one going on. I can make as many as I would like. Maybe have another one kind of off in the distance. All right, so right now I have some icebergs. Now what you can do when you're finished, if you want to take, whatever art supplies you may have at home, you can take color pencils, you could do this with markers, you could water paint it. You could either have this be daytime. You could have, this is actually my C right here, so maybe what I would want to do is maybe make the C have those blues and all that, which is sometimes the ice actually looks blue because it is reflecting off the water. And that's why it gives it that blue appearance, okay? So I could come in, and what I could start doing now is I could start doing some shading. So there you have it. We have a polar bear of Pungo. We actually have 2 polar bears of Pungo. So you may design your background however you would like. And thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.